So welcome back to yet another video about my Skyline. Well, this video is about more than just this Skyline. In today's video, I'm going to tell you about all the Skylines and the Skyline GT-Rs I've had over the years. Because I've had a lot of them. And the truth is, I really don't even know just how many. And I'm going to be counting them here. We're going to figure this out as we go. To give you guys a little bit of a backstory, my name is Scotty Cranmer. I'm a professional BMX rider. I ended up breaking my neck in 2016, and that's going to become a big part of this story as well. But let me explain this. Like, when I was a professional, I was super young. Like, I went pro at 16 years old. I was making pretty good money, and I just fell in love with cars and the whole car scene, and I had so many of them. And that's a whole nother video. I'm going to talk about my car addiction, because car addiction is definitely a real thing, and it's serious, and I'm glad I financially survived it. But we're going to dig a little bit into that today, and I'm going to tell you about all the Skylines that I've owned. And yeah, it led us to this part right here. And the truth is, I didn't think I was ever going to own another Skyline GT-R ever again, but this thing just showed up and I am so hyped on it. It's been awesome having it so far. Like, I've been enjoying the heck out of it. I like just go in the garage and I'll just go and look at it sometimes. And it's definitely brought a lot more joy into my life, and definitely a piece of my life that's been missing since I ended up breaking my neck. So right now we're just gonna go all the way back to the beginning of me getting into Skylines and Skyline GT-Rs. And the first Skyline I ever got was all the way back in 2006 or 2007. I think it was 2007, I believe. And I was on this forum. That's where I would go for all my Evo stuff. I was super big into Evos at this point. And then I saw Skyline go up on the classifieds, and I had never seen anybody have a Skyline in the United States of America at this point. Never seen one before in person. So when this one popped up, it immediately caught my eye, and the car looked pretty cool. At the time, it was blue. It was a 1994, 1995, could have been either or, can't really remember, but it was an R33 GT-ST Type M. But this one had like an R33 style body kit on it, had an R33 spoiler on it. So I ended up talking to the person about it. He had it for sale for like $36,000, which is, I mean, it's still high at this point right now, but at the time, I mean, I'd never seen anything. I had nothing to gauge it off of, so I was like, yeah, it makes sense. The Skyline, of course, it's gonna be expensive, but that was not a federally legal car. It was just a state legal car, so somebody got the thing, somehow put the paperwork in, and they got it titled. So that doesn't mean it's here legally. And yeah, we're gonna go and cover that a couple different times. But yeah, I got that car and I was so hyped on it. So I had that car for probably about 6-7 months. And I still had it after this, but I ended up adding to it. I ended up getting an R33 GT-R, and this one was a federal legal car. This car was actually a Motorex car. I ended up buying from a guy in California. I spent like $59,000 on this car. It had a big single on it. The car was in really, really good shape. I ended up doing a little bit of work to this car to try to just make it a little bit more visually how I wanted to. And you can see some pictures right here. This is pretty much like the final version of it. This is when it had the 19-inch C28Ns on it. I didn't really do anything to the engine of this thing. I just cleaned up a little bit on the exterior of it. The big single was super laggy. It really wasn't enjoyable to drive. I remember one day I was pulling out of my bike shop. I got on it and it just kind of fell on its face. I brought it to a friend of mine who, you know, he was really good with Evos, but he was trying to figure out what was wrong with it. The car would still run. It wouldn't build any boost, and it wouldn't go over like 3,000 RPMs. It turns out the car actually blew up, and I drove it like that for about 2 years. It just wasn't easy to fix at this time, and it was just really hard to get parts for it. So the car, yeah, it never got fully used for a while, but I had this car for a while. So that was my second Skyline. Now I'm trying to figure out what my third Skyline was. But I guess I'll just bring up the fact that I ended up getting an R32 GT-R. I had two of these, actually. I had two gray ones. Well, at this point I did. So I ended up getting this car. I don't know if I traded for this one or if I bought this one. I can't really remember. There's a really good possibility I traded an Evo for it. I can't really remember. And it's crazy to think that, you know, like a Skyline GT-R, I don't know how I got my hands on it, but you'll understand more as I go further into this one. This car was like pretty stock. Drove awesome, drove really, really nice. I ended up having that one for a little while, but I ended up getting rid of it. I think I traded it for another Evo. I'm pretty sure I traded it for an Evo 9. And this car was not federal legal. It was just a state legal car. And I think that's the reason why I ended up getting rid of it. I was kind of like nervous to own it because there was some drama stirring up of people getting their cars impounded, and I was getting super nervous nervous about that. Before we go any further showing you all the Skylines that I've had, I'm going to take a quick break and tell you about an amazing headphone option that you probably didn't realize you were missing out on. I've partnered with Tozo to show you their open buds, and these things are legit. They are the perfect option for people with an active lifestyle that want to listen to music, podcasts, or even take calls while doing what they love. For someone like me who enjoys riding their bike every day but doesn't like the idea of essentially inserting earplugs in it and losing a key sense for situational awareness, these open buds are a game changer due to their open ear biaxial rotation design, not only for ultimate comfort but the ability to have a pure and high quality sound that can be controlled through the Tozo app, where they even offer a pretty powerful bass option. All in all, these Tozo open buds offer tons of performance mixed with long-lasting comfort, and if you follow my channel, you know that I only work with products that I truly believe in. So if you're interested in getting yourself a pair right now at a great price, you can go to the link in the description of this video and you will not be disappointed. I don't even know how the timeline, like where this one falls into place. It was probably within a couple of years, but I ended up getting my hands on another R32 GT-R, and this one I ended up getting from a friend of mine. This dude sold to me for like, I think it was like $12,000. I remember it was registered in Vermont. Just a little side note, you can register a car in Vermont under a different address in a different state. So I had like a Vermont registration, Vermont plates on the car, but it was registered to my home address in New Jersey. Really, really weird. That was, when the guy did it for me, like I thought I was gonna be in some serious trouble, and I got pulled over. I got pulled over for the first time. I was super nervous, and the cop just looked at everything, yeah, sent me on my way. So it's a weird option. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there if you guys are curious at all. But yeah, I had that car for a little while. I really don't know if I got rid of that one, if I sold it. I can't really remember, but that's besides the point. We will move on over to my other R33 GT-R I had, and this one was a white Motor X R33 GT-R. This thing was fully built. This thing had like 18,000 miles on it. I'm pretty sure it was in 1996. I ended up trading 2 Evos for this one, but it was beautiful. This thing was so mint. So I got this car, and the truth is it wasn't titled at the time, but the guy told me it was a federal legal car. But I was kind of really nervous to register it, because when you go and register these cars, like if I went to the DMV in New Jersey, it's either an 11 or 12 digit VIN number depending on the car. The R33s were BCNRs, so that was different than the R32s that are BNR 32 or BNR 34. I don't know why they did that either. I never really looked into it, but whatever, that's besides the point. So when you would bring it to the DMV, they would look at it and they say, this is weird. They're used to dealing with 17 VIN numbers. So it would raise some flags, they would make some phone calls, and I was scared of getting the car taken away from me. So I just never registered. I just kept it at my house in my garage. And I had this car for probably 2 years, I'd say, something like that. And then while I had this white car, I ended up selling my original R33 GT-R and my original R33 GTST Type M. The R33 GTST Type M, I traded to a kid in New Hampshire for a 1993 Supra. This thing was an NA non-turbo that was swapped into a turbo 6-speed. This thing was a hunk of junk, but it looked cool. It was orange. I almost looked like I was straight out of Fast and Furious, but it was really cool to own that car because it was always a favorite car of mine. So the R33 GT-R, I ended up selling, and I ended up taking a big hit on that one. I sold it for like $35,000. But at the time, it was when the recession came and everything crashed down. So kind of didn't know what else to do at this point, so I got rid of it. I ended up getting my hands on another R33 GT-R, and I have no idea how I got my hands on this one. I swear I remember buying it from somebody, I think. But the car had no engine in it. It was a R33 GT-R chassis. It was really nice. Everything was mint on it except it had no engine. I don't know what my game plan was. I think I was going to build it up, but I didn't do anything. It just sat in my garage. I ended up selling that to a guy. I think it was in New York, I'm pretty sure. But I don't even know how long I had that one. But this is the only picture I have of it in the garage next to that R34 GT-R, and we're going to move over to that right now. So yes, I owned an R34 GT-R V-Spec. I got my hands on that one because I ended up trading the white R33 GT-R for the R34. This was a state legal car, and I had this one for probably like 2 or 3 years. The first year I had it, I never registered it. I had it in my garage, and I was so scared of registering it. I remember at the time I had the Vermont registered R32 GT-R, and I brought that car to go get registered in New Jersey. I'd swap over the Vermont title to New Jersey, and the woman that was working there was super nice, really, really nice woman. And she was super cool, and she just pushed it straight through. I said, hey, are you working the rest of the day? And she's like, yeah. I was like, all right, I'll be back. So I ran and I got the title for my R34, and then I finally put it into my name into New Jersey. And yeah, I ended up getting that car registered, and I drove it around, and I loved that car. That car was amazing. It was just a dream come true. It had some really, really nice mods on it. Like the engine bay looks super good. You could see it doesn't look factory at all. It's got a really nice intercooler piping on it. It had the stock turbos in it. I ended up getting that car tuned. It made like 350 wheel horsepower. It was a great car. Now, owning that car was super, super stressful. And now at the time, I had an R35 GT-R. I had both of those cars. And like I said, the recession happened, and here I am trying to live this like import dream. I'm a you know, BMX athlete. That's what I'm doing for a job. And I started getting super nervous that I was like, man, I got to get rid of one of these cars. So I ended up putting that R34 GT-R up for sale. You guys are gonna love this. I listed it for $60,000. I had it up for a month. I had 0 offers on it, and then I randomly got an offer for $50,000, and I sold that car for $50,000. Can you imagine if I would have known? Well, I mean, even if I would have known, I was so scared of getting that car taken away from me. Like, the anxiety of getting that car like taken away was it was terrible. And at the time it was happening. Like, there was a website that was called like Skyline Owners USA, and apparently they were taking people's cars on there. And it was just nerve-wracking. And I was so scared of having that anxiety, and I have terrible anxiety as is, and that didn't help at all. So yes, it kills me knowing of like what that car is worth right now, but like I was terrified. I have no idea where that car is right now. I have 0 clue. But it was awesome owning it. It was a dream come true. It's weird, like having your dream car and then like not having your dream car. Like all these years later, I just have like a couple photos to show from it. It's really, really strange. But you can see like in these pictures, there's a couple different ones. I changed it over the years of putting different wheels on it. I had a bunch of cars that had a bunch of amazing wheels, and I would just swap them around for fun. So that's why this car had like the different wheels on it in every single one of these shots. I ended up putting like CCWs on it at the end because they were like kind of like getting cool for like Japanese cars for a little while. So yeah, that was a wild time, like owning all those cars, but we're not done yet. So I guess we'll move on to my next Skyline I had. So this one was a random one that I ended up getting for $10,000. This was another R33 GT-ST Type M. This car was almost like a carbon copy of my original car, but it was orange. The car drove awesome. It was very, very clean. I ended up buying it locally from some dude that lived like in my town. And now what was so weird about it is like I had this R33, you know, GT-ST, and like it was registered, everything was fine, but I didn't drive it around. The reason why is because there was like a local kid that lived in my same town that was like a huge fan of Skylines. He ended up getting his hands on an R33 GT-R and built this thing up, and he painted it orange. Out of all the colors in the world, this kid chose orange. So there was 2 orange Skylines in our town. I didn't know anything about this kid. I didn't know what his reputation was, but I just didn't feel comfortable driving another R33 Skyline. An orange went around because people who didn't know, they would just think it was him or me or vice versa. So I just stopped driving the car, just kept it in my garage. So I had that car for a bunch of years, just sat there, and we would drive it from time to time. But I ended up, when I was going to move, I remember I sold it for like $10,000, the same exact price that I bought it for. So that's crazy as well. So yeah, we're at 8 right now, and I guess we'll move on to the next one. And some of you might recognize this one because I had this one on my channel. I bought this one when they became federal legal. It was my R32 GT-R. This time it was silver. I had this car for probably 2 years total, 3 years total, but the first year I was able to enjoy the heck out of this car. It was awesome. I loved it. It was a great car, and we were doing project videos on it, but then I ended up breaking my neck. And for all of you that have seen the videos, you guys know I can't drive manual anymore since I damaged my spinal cord. I can move my body. Like I'm looking like I'm living a normal life right now, but it's really hard to do certain things for me. And to feel my feet is really difficult for me, and to be able to move my right foot. Like when I drive right now, I do right foot on the throttle, left foot on the brake. That's how I do it right now, and it works perfectly fine. Been doing that for the last 6 years now. But I cannot do a clutch. I can't worry about the brake and the clutch simultaneous, so I can't drive manual anymore. And that's why I found this thing, and that's why I fell in love with this one, because it is automatic. So I ended up having that car, I guess it was probably for about another close to a year after my crash, just sitting in my garage, and I ended up selling it to a local kid around my area, the kid that actually grew up like riding my skate park. He loves cars, and he ended up buying my car from me. So it was cool to see him enjoy that car for a while. So that would be number 9 right there. And I guess that leads us to our last one, which is going to be my R34 GT-T, which I absolutely love. This car has been amazing so far. I'm so grateful that I'm still able to enjoy cars, even though I've had my accident since I broke my neck. And I'm so glad that I financially survived my car addiction. And I'm gonna do another video in the future where I talk about all the cars I've owned, and this is probably gonna make a lot of your head spin. A lot of you are gonna get nauseous. It's gonna make me nauseous. I'm embarrassed about it, but I'm just so glad I financially survived it. And I was almost like relieved after I ended up breaking my neck. I know it sounds crazy, but that I wasn't going to be buying sports cars anymore. So I ended up getting this one, but I'm not going crazy with it. I'm not like trying to add a bunch of different things to it. I'm trying to just enjoy it for what it is, because this car is absolutely beautiful, and I'm so blessed, so lucky to have this car, and I'm just gonna try to enjoy it. But that's gonna be it for this one. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, looking back on all the Skylines I had. I plan on doing another video of this, of adding something to this one. I'm pretty excited about, because I am desperately needing to do this one. I'm just waiting for a couple more parts to come in, so you can look out for that video soon. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.